I'm Karen Wilgus. I'm the owner of Fancy Cats Vintage Vibes here in Edom, Texas. I bought this building and this property in 2023, so it's been almost 3 years that I've been here. I've been inspired to do antiquing and vintage items just because that's what I've always loved. I like things that are old, things that have character and history. I would say the personality and the vibe of Fancy Cats is all things 60s and 70s especially, but I have older items as well that are more antique, but my true love is the 60s and 70s. I like to say I'm stuck in the 70s, but anything that has character and history and is unique, that's what I like to have in my store. When a customer comes in, initially they're a little overwhelmed, I think, because I have so much stuff in this store, but they kind of start taking it in and they make a couple of trips through usually to kind of see it all. And they're very intrigued with, oh, my grandmother had this, or oh, this reminds me of some event in their life. So it's kind of a trip down memory lane for most customers, and I would say most of them really have a very enjoyable experience here, looking at all the different things that I've curated and brought to the shop. Usually the typical customer that I get in here is a couple of different kinds of people. It's like the 30-somethings who are into vintage, who like the idea of having the cool vintage things that their parents or grandparents had. And then my other customers are the older customers who lived it, who come in and are like, oh, I remember I had this. I remember we used to play with this. And it's memories for one group, and it's kind of reconnecting with the old things with the younger group. I like to say that my superpower is shopping. And so when I go out and about, I'm just always on the lookout for anything that's cool, different, unique, eclectic, something fun for the store. And I just find things that I think would be in line with my vintage vibe. I don't like your typical antiques. I like things that are different. And I have a lot of customers who come and say, oh, I love all the weird things you have in your shop. So that's kind of what I look for when I go out and about, and I love to shop. I would say a challenge in starting the business is acquiring all the inventory you need to fill up a store. My store isn't that big, but it's wall-to-wall stuff. So I've overcome that challenge. I have quite a lot of things in the store. The other challenge would be getting over the frustration of people who come in who don't necessarily just fall in love with things immediately like I do. I think if I love it, they should love it. So, everybody's different, but I do have that customer from time to time who just loves everything in here. And then there's the customer who's like, and they just look around and leave, but that's okay too. And so I just, the challenge is trying to have a little bit of something for everybody, trying to find like man stuff, art, glassware, the typical antiques. I don't have a lot of furniture in here because my building's not that big. So I have a lot of smalls, as we call it. And mostly people, they like looking at the smalls, and, sometimes if I have a bigger piece of furniture, they're into that too. So I try to meet all of the expectations of everybody who comes in the door, and that can be frustrating and challenging. To me, vintage vibes, just the phrase itself, vintage vibes, implies that you're going to come in my store and experience the vibe of the past and enjoy and go down memory lane for a bit and discover things you might have forgotten about, or discover new things that were cool from bygone eras. The favorite thing in my shop right now is a lamp that is on my desk here. It's a handmade in the Philippines. It's mid-century. The insert is fiberglass, and the outside of the lamp has the bands that you'll see on it are what I was told, petrified butterfly plant leaves from the Philippines. And then the outside is rimmed with 3 or 4 rows of marbles that were put into wires and attached. It's a fabulous lamp, and it's actually my favorite thing in the whole store. Something I would like for people to know about this shop, part of the history of Edom is that this building was in the, 60s. It was the Woodshed Cafe. And it's been a couple of different things besides that, but that's what it's most known for. And I just love the history of it. And in fact, in my store in one corner, when we were remodeling it and repainting the walls and all the things you have to do to change it into your space. I noticed some black spots on the floor in one of the corners here, and it turns out it's the grease from the stove that was in the corner from when it was the Woodshed Cafe, and I think that's awesome. And so I just like that people recognize the history of the building itself, and then there's been a couple of different antique stores in here in the past, and so I just like mine to be a little more unique, and it's just, I've turned it into my store versus, everybody else had their thing as well, but it's just an experience, I think, to come in and see what it is now versus what it's been in the past, and honor also the history of the building itself and the place that it has in Edom. If I had to describe Fancy Cat's vintage vibes in 3 words, I would say it's eclectic, it's fun, and it's interesting.